Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Coding. In this episode, we're gonna take a look at Sverchok and how it can help us to deform a lattice. So lattice is actually one of the coolest deformer. I think normally you can use it to simply deform an object with a starting object that's basically like a box. It would be nicer if we kind of have this kind of fitting the objects using the bounding box, but normally we can always tweak that ourselves. So the way it works, for this to work, we need to use a lattice deformer, and then we specify the lattice. So we only have one lattice object, and yeah, that's basically it. And normally if you want to deform the lattice, you actually kind of deform it this way. You go to edit mode, or you can also use other deformer, like for example the wave deformer. There's also something that you can use to deform the lattice. It's actually more interesting if the lattice is, have more resolutions, but let's not do that. And okay, make this let's make this back to normal. Maybe let's start again and put the lattice in the middle. Select the monkey head, select the lattice. Okay, now it's good. Let's save this first. So this is Sverchok Lattice. So in the past, I think I tried to do something like this, and the way I do this is by using the object ID selector and select the lattice object, and from here we kind of modify the lattice using its coordinate. I'll show you. This is one of the results. In the past, I'm simply using the data points and coordinate deform, but we actually have a new nodes. The name is Lattice Props. So Lattice Props is really cool. If we, for example, just assign it a deform points and select our lattice, what's gonna happen is that we can start to deform the lattice this way. And you can use something like list input, use a vector, and because the lattice by default has 8 points, you can start deforming the points this way. So one by one. So this is pretty cool. The deform point is basically the offset of the original points. Oh, actually probably not the offset, but it's actually the points itself. So that's but you don't want to do it this way. You want to actually start with the proper points. I'll show you what I mean. So lattice have always like initial points. There's this option called initial points, and you can basically use that. So now we have 2 lattice props nodes, and if you want to deform the points, kind of like offsetting it, we can now do this. Okay, it's not deforming the monkey because we need to specify the lattice. There you go. So this is a much better way to use it, I think. So there's also this point select mask. Normally this is if you want to kind of select the mask or not selecting the mask. Don't worry about that. Let's play around with this a little bit. So with the lattice, like I said, you can have more resolutions on the lattice box. So this is what we have. It's pretty cool. Lattice, because lattice has some kind of influence, and that's it's deforming the object very very quickly. It's like a quick way to deform any objects with something that's originally simply a box. So this is if you are using random, and I don't think it works. It kind of works only if the object is inside the box. So this can be kind of interesting. Let's say sometimes you are using lattice if you have an object and the lattice, if the lattice is shaped like this, the object's gonna kind of wrap, and then yeah, you use this lattice this way, and sometimes lattice is put on the motion path, and the lattice should deform along the path, and then the objects can also deform. This is like in the old school, they do it this way before there's bones and things like that. But still, lattice is very, very useful. Sometimes I use it for modeling. And if we just deform the lattice this way, it's already pretty cool. Let's say we don't want it to be like just for random deforming, not like random deformations. Let's use the noise, for example, vector noise. You can also use the turbulence, or you can also create your own functions. You can do it this way. So this is like this deform, happy deformer, and vector noise initial point. So we have the initial points. That's the thing that matters. Plug that into the vertices, and then we gonna use vector math and simply deform, kind of like offsetting it using the noise, and plug this into the final result. So now we have noise affecting the lattice, and the noise is a bit strong, so I do this all the time. We can use vector math and then kind of scale the noise this way. So now the noise is controllable. You can also scale the noise back here. So this is also pretty useful. On top of this, you can also move the noise using move, and do it this way. So that's really cool, right? Remember that also you can, on top of this, on the lattice itself, you can do a couple of deformer, armature deformer, that you can even lattice a lattice. You can use mesh deform, and there's also wave, of course, soft body. So lattice is really, really cool. And plug the frame over here. So now it's moving like crazy. Make it slower. I think this should be at the over here. So this is I do this all the time. If you wanna make it moving like this, it's fine. You can do it. Increase or decrease the wave, and yeah, you can have something that's pretty interesting already. You can even kind of rotate the monkey, and it's still gonna do the deforming, and then it's almost like the object is inside the water. And we have all kind of noise, of course, not just purling. The craziest one is cell noise. Yeah, see, you can go really crazy with lattice, and still lattice is pretty stable and it's pretty easy to use. I think if you want to teach a person 3D, maybe deformer is one of the basics, especially lattice. There's also like a simple deform, but that's even simpler. Simple deform is somewhere here. And lattice, of course, is the modifier. You can apply lattice before and after So let's say you have these objects, assign it with wireframe, or you assign the wireframe before. Because this is deformer, it's almost like a node. You can always change the order. So you can have multiple lattice as well. So yeah, I think it's really, really powerful. And the fact that you can do it with Sverchok nodes, it's gonna be even more powerful. Yeah, in the future, this is like Blender 2.79. I keep reminding myself to try 2.8. Once the Sverchok and animation nodes inside 2.8, we're gonna do a switch. But for now, it's a 2.79. This is the latest one with Python 3.7. It's even faster, I think. The performance is even faster, and I really like it. So anyway, let me know what you think about this, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.